Hi everybody, happy Halloween. You have the power. You're gonna say, oh no, I have no power. Look how things are going. Things are terrible. I have no power. But you do. You have the power of observation. And that's what we're gonna talk about. Okay, all kidding aside. This is true. You have the power of observation. And a lot of you right now, you have spikes coming. And some of them are really small, like this one. Way inside there, you see a tiny little spike coming. And quite amazing as it is, this is the orchid that had 2 huge spikes. My big lip fell, and this was in flower. I got it in February, Valentine's Day, and it was in flower 2 months after that. And now, it's decided to throw out a spike. Now, if this, using my powers of observation, if this plant was sickly looking, if the leaves had gone all limp, if it looked like it was struggling, I would not let it flower, because all the energy to grow the spike and open the flowers will take from the plant. But because these leaves, they're laying down because this orchid wanted to kind of fall over in the pot, they're firm. This is a new leaf. I like to see the new leaves get bigger and bigger, and I can't say that this one did, but the leaves are all firm, except for this one, which was half broke off when I got it, and it's still half broke off, and I haven't removed it because it will get some nutrition from there. So I'm happy to see that. I put a few pots of orchids here. Here's another one. This one has a little spike coming way inside. Let me see, right in there somewhere. So, see if you can get it from this side. Anyway, there it is. So this orchid, it doesn't have a lot of leaves, but the leaves are firm and healthy, and I'm going to let it spike. Now, I watered on Thursday, and so the top of my pots look dry, right? I mean, any one of these that you look at look dry. Now, what we want to do is we want to use our powers of observation by looking at our media and keeping it just nice so these spikes grow, and when the flowers come, the buds do not drop off. We do not want our buds to drop off our orchids. So we are going to use our powers of observation. And with our powers of observation, we're going to make sure that we keep our orchids extremely happy. And how are we going to keep our orchids extremely happy? Well, we want to make sure when the spikes are growing, and especially when the buds are not open but ready to open, some people will have the trouble that they turn yellow and they never open, they fall off. We don't want that to happen. So how are we going to prevent it? They need humidity, the buds, the plant. If it gets too dry, what will happen? There's not enough humidity in the air, the buds will dry and drop off. So we want to make sure, oh, just a second. Now, these little humidity detectors, this came from Canadian Tire, and I don't think it was over $5. It wasn't very much. And all you need is something like this, because they are going to be happy at 60 to 80% humidity. They're going to be very happy. But because we're growing our orchids in our home with us, now if I had a grow room, and you can't compare growing orchids in your house, right in your living quarters, to someone who has a grow room that is keeping the humidity up in the 60 to 80% range, and they can keep the temperature at the best range for the orchids. So they all have all this climate controlled in a room. And I'm not raising my orchids that way. My orchids are here, and in the winter, in our BC interior winter, it's freezing outside a lot now, and it has been raining. Therefore, the humidity has been quite high, and the orchids are very happy. They love that humidity. Although sometimes as winter goes on and the furnace is on more and more and more, my humidity can get to 40%. I've never seen it drop below 40 because we are situated 2 blocks from the Shuswap Lake, which is a huge lake. Goes all the way to Kamloops, way over to Sicamous, but it's a huge lake. And we are just on one arm of that lake, and it does help with the humidity. And so when I see 40 on this, we've had higher humidity than normal. This is not normal for us. We have had lots of rain and snow, and the humidity has been quite high. I have no longer got any windows open, and it's still showing this. And so what would I do, and this is why you need this, is because when I see my humidity is up above 50, I do not run my humidifiers because I don't need to. And if you see them get below 40, you've just got your orchids with you in the room. You would like to try and raise it above that. They will survive, but we want flowers and we want blooms. So preferably we want to do as much as we can in our home environment to have them happier. So number one would be to group them all together. By grouping your orchids all together, now not so close, all the leaves are touching and the air can't get in. And if they are glued tightly, it's always nice, like watering day, I will turn the fan on because I water and it just helps dry, the fan helps dry them up. So if you have like a lot of humidity where you live, you could have your fan on more often. And because it will help dry up some of that humidity. So when I water, I do that. Or if I wash my floors, I often put the fans on so the floors dry quicker. So we want to try and do as much as we can to raise that 40 to at least 50. That will make a big difference. So grouping them together. And the typical thing where you have water, like I will quite often have a bowl of water, and on the bowl of water, inside the bowl of water, I'll have an upside down bowl, I'll have an upside down anything that raises the orchid way above the water, but the humidity that's coming off of that water is rising around your orchid, giving it humidity. Now, this is good if you don't have too many, you're just raising them in your living quarters. And this works really good. I use it on all my orchids when I put them out on the patio in the summer. Even though I have misters on, I always have a huge bowl of water and I have them above it. So that's your another method. So the other thing you can do is misting. And I do want to show this because I want to show how I mist. I do not hold this right up close. Now, there are times when I may, let's do it with this one. There's some big aerial roots here. Now, they're not near the media, but they're happy because, like I said, we've had a lot of humidity lately, and they're quite happy. So, now, aerial roots. We're talking 40% humidity, not what I've had now. We're talking maybe a dry summer. So when I'm misting, I am not holding my misting bottle, my thing, right close to the bark and squirting. That is like watering your plant, and that's cheating. You are maybe just going to stand back like this. Now I can get the aerial roots that are on the outside. And I will often do that. But even now, some mornings, in the morning and the afternoon, and I never usually do it after the afternoon because now it's not that hot in the late afternoon. But my misting is like this. Now, I am not soaking the media, and I am not misting flowers. Do not mist your flowers. I am misting the air. There. Now, that's all you need to do. Now, if it's very dry, like 40%, you could probably do that as often as you want in the mornings. It's got lots of time to dry off, but you are not soaking. Now, if I look, there's a fine mist on the leaves. Now, they like that. It's not soaking on the media. So that's what I would do. Now, the other thing you can do is because aerial roots, they're very hardy, and they take a while to start absorbing the moisture that you're giving them. Like maybe I misted this aerial root, and then in a few more minutes mist it again and again. It may take 10 minutes for that aerial root to actually get moist enough to absorb because they have a thicker outer coating, and it takes a while because they are set up so they also stop humidity from getting out of the plant. So they're more, they have a special way that they stop moisture from getting out of the plant, but they let moisture come in, but it takes a little longer than the roots that are in the media to do that. So if it's summer, you can take a piece of paper towel and wet it with some warm water, and if you're really worried, if it's it's really hot, you can wrap it around them. But the thing I like best, I do this. In the summer, I've been known to do this. And you could even, you could just put it there and it will help with humidity. Because it's dry and even the top is dry. That will help. And you could just lay it on the top of your pot and come back. It's not dripping. It's not dripping into the pot, but it's humid. And the other thing I do many times is I take a cotton tea cloth and I get it really with warm water. And I always call this my spa treatment. And even though I've used it in the summer a lot, if there's a special plant I'm worried about, in the winter, even if you're down to very low humidity, you could just wrap your plant. Just leave it on. It'll actually start to feel real cold in another 5 or 10 minutes. And do it again. Do it about 3 times in a row. Isn't it nice to be retired when you can't have all this time to play. You'll notice how much they love it. Also, you could do that around the pot. So this is also good. And one step better is if you have an area, it can be any area, but like a shower where you pull the curtain, or like my window. My window has a Venetian blind that comes down in front of it. So if I put my orchids all inside the window and I put my humidifiers on, the humidity stays inside because of Venetian blinds, and it really helps. Same with a shower. If you close the curtain, put them in there for a while and let the humidity from running some water in there, let it soak into your plants. So some people even buy the little greenhouses, and you can do it that way by having a little mister going in there, a cool mister that doesn't have a filter. It just throws a nice cool mist like the ones I've got, and there's no big cleaning problems, or mold can get into filters or such. So anyway, that's the other thing. And the other thing is, when you've got your new orchid, and it's so important, and you're not really used to how much you should water, how often you should water. And it's very important, and I say use your powers of observation. And I know some people don't like to take their plant out, but you don't really have to. You can, this one has a little spike, but you could shake a bunch of bark out. Of course, here I am making a mess again. I don't want to shake the whole plant out, but you can shake a bunch of bark out of your plant. I could probably pull the whole thing out easy. And look down, and I mean further than this. You want to see what's going down on in that pot. Now, I still can't see, it's so dry. But you know what? If your plant is free, here we go. Didn't know I was going to do that. It does not bother them. So, here's the plant. Now, I watered Thursday. Now, what do you notice? You notice these old roots that I never cut off? What's happening? There's little pieces. There's nice new roots. Look in here. Even though that was an older root, some will say maybe not color good. Nice new roots coming. Nice new growth. And here. So, there is some black ones, but because I'm in bark, nothing is mushy. And I watered Thursday. So what we want to know, let me just put that one there for a minute. How moist is it in the bottom of the pot, watering Thursday? And this is a smaller pot. Now, you can see by the color, it is moister. It's not dry like the top. Now, it's not going to stay real dry, this smaller pot. It's not going to stay real moist down there for next Thursday. So it may just get a run through, but all I have is bark. So I can take it to the tap and I can just let the water run through for a minute. It'll be, because of the good flow, it'll be dry before I know it. And it'll be just right to keep this plant healthy while it's getting that spike. I'll repot that after. It's fine. I do that lots of times. The only way you're going to tell how your watering is by checking the pot. I say it all the time. I mean it seriously. Now when you get into the bigger pots like this one, I know from experience that because of these holes it dries, but in the center it stays quite moist. I do not worry about these bigger ones going the week in the winter. In the summer, I would be watering a second time. So now this is the paint can. This is how I started. Many years ago, 2011 or something, I started with orchids, and I started with these because I didn't have pots, and they're just acrylic paint cans. You can see where the handles were. Jack took off the handles, the little lip. They love these from the beginning. They love these, but these will also stay. If you look in here, you'll see nice roots in there, even at the bottom. This will stay humid the week too. But smaller pots, and if they're in spike, they're using more, they're going to need a little bit more. They don't want them to dry up. So, I have never found it necessary to add something else. But if I did, I don't like using all moss, but I would take a little bit of moss and chop it fine and make sure it was spread, not in lumps anywhere near those roots, but spread in the media to help hold a little bit of humidity. But I don't have to do that. I've never had any trouble. But by always watching your leaves so that you don't, if you see you're losing leaves more often than you should, you might consider checking the media, checking the pot to find out what's going on in there. So, let's see. So we want to know how much moisture our pot holds. And if you look in there and say you're going to water tomorrow and you just look like I did, and it's soaking wet in there, well, that media is too wet. They need air around the roots. They love that. And the good thing about bark, what I like about bark is it's natural. And in the bark, you might not see it with, with the bare eye, but there's different funguses that grow and things that grow naturally. And those also have their way of feeding the plant and helping the plant roots be stronger so that they're easy for them to not rot and are healthier. And I always have healthy roots, and I always say the bark is very good, but if you have to add a crutch, it will depend on your weather and your circumstances what you use to help your plant along. But don't guess. Don't say, oh, I watered and forget about it. Once you've been doing it longer, there's no problem. Bark is very easy to look after your plants. You're not always fooling around doing a bunch of other things. You have your watering date and that's it. So I have many types of pots, and they all work fine. I've had really good luck with just using the bark inside of the matting, the core matting, and I've had no problem with those. I think I've got 3 like that. They've been very good. Nice for hanging plants and very easy when you have to repot. Now, because I'm always on the dry side, oh yeah, that's what I should say too. These are all hybrids, and they're grocery store orchids, and they're not species. And don't get mistaken by watching, somebody that's raising species orchids will not have the same care, how you look after your orchid as these hybrids. These hybrids were bred to be hardy for in the home, not in the orchid room or the special growing conditions. These were raised to be in the home. They were raised to be stronger and healthier, have more flowers, and they like to dry out a bit before watering day. Some do not. Some species, some other types of orchids, they like to be moist. They don't like to ever dry out. These, I've proved it so many times. They like to dry out. It does not hurt them. Maybe, I often say, oh, I won't water today, I'll water the next day. Because I know I can. It doesn't hurt them. Just watch your plants. Are they looking healthy? Are the leaves firm? And you know, they could be starting to wilt because you've just repotted them. Because we all know when you repot, I hear everybody saying it now, doesn't matter what media you're using. When you change the media, or even the water, if you make a complete change in water, the orchid will grow new roots to suit that new environment. Those other roots, they may not fall off. They may later start to, like I just showed you, show shoots of nice green roots coming off of them. I don't cut anything off unless it's mushy or diseased in some way. I leave them because, yes, they can start to grow new little ones, because that was one I hadn't repotted. Maybe it's over a year anyway, but so it's done good. It's a beautiful Asian looking yellow flower. Yellow flowers, they found something about all the yellow ones. When people like to, and I don't do that, but people like to cut below after your orchids finished flowering. Starting to sound like that Biden guy. Oh dear. No, I'm always thinking about 6 things at once. So when the flowers are finished and they say cut with a no below where the flowers were and you get more flowers, apparently I read that the Phalaenopsis, the store-bought ones, the hybrid ones, the yellow ones are more apt to reflower for you than the other colors. So maybe I should try that with one and see what happens, because some other flowers, they're just how they are. They're not a species. Species may tend to do that easier, and some you don't ever cut off because that's their species. But this is what I've grown. This is all I can get here, and I have been playing with these for so long, and this is what I find is best. Now, if you're using another method for growing your orchids, that's fine. I mean, I think you could grow these in almost any media. The most important thing is keep your eyes on your goal. You can't just put it in the pot and forget about it until you know how they're reacting to all this environment changes. So now, collapse flowers. Okay, your buds are coming out and you want them to last for 4 to 5 months or so. So what don't you want to do? You don't want flies or bees or anything in your home getting to those flowers, because they're going to pollinate them and they're going to fall off. You don't want cigarette smoke. Sorry, smokers, but cigarette smoke smells from a gas stove. I have a gas stove. I'm just saying. You don't want cold drafts. You don't want hot drafts. You want them to be in a stable environment for the time their flowers are growing. And when the buds are just forming, when you water them, put them back so that they're facing the same way. Because if you always put them in a different spot, then what will happen is those buds will get twisting, and then just fall off. They give up. So once the blooms are all out, you can put them anywhere in your house you want to enjoy them. But just while that's growing, I quite often at night, I'll face them towards the window. That's where they're growing, towards the light. But when I know Mom's coming up for dinner or something and I have a lot in bloom, I'll just turn them around for the evening so we can enjoy them, and then I'll turn them back until they're fully open. So you want to avoid ripening fruit, ethylene gas from anything like that will induce the buds to drop. And if you have an orchid that the flowers are all wilty and hanging there and you haven't picked them off, pick them off, because they are over ripening and they're creating ethylene gas, so you want to pick them off. So I think we did pretty good. I have to tell you a little story though. As you know, I have been doing some upholstery work, and I finished upholstering all the dining room furniture, and then I thought I would do the other table over there. This table, when Mom moved in with us maybe 12 or 13 years ago, this was her table and it got put here, and that was my table, so it's still. But I made all the seats the same and I finished. But on Sunday, because Rosemary was coming to dinner, our daughter, she was coming to dinner, and I was busy in the kitchen, and I had been upholstering. And I had taken one of those cushions off, and I had taken the old cover off, and I placed it. My upholstery room is no bigger than this kitchen. It has a queen size bed. I do my painting in there. I have 2 sewing machines in there. I have the computer in there, and it's crowded. So I put the chair on the floor by the computer, but I had the foam up, right? And of course, because I'm busy, Maggie's neglected. Now, she never got really serious trouble, but she did create quite a bit. She's barking. I'm out in the kitchen. Bark, 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 bark. Okay, she barks once in a while, but something was not right. So I go in there and I look, and oh my God, there was foam everywhere. And you know that stuff, it's a static cling or whatever. It was stuck to everything. And here by the computer where I put the chair and put the thing on till I was ready to cover it, she was sitting there. She's covered in foam. It's all over the floor. It's everywhere. And now it's starting to stick on my pants and my shoes. And I'm trying to wipe her off, and oh, Maggie, what have you done? So anyway, there's all this mess. I'm trying to cook dinner, which is kind of being neglected. And I thought, oh, well, we'll just take her out, close the door, and deal with it later. So later I had to go in and clean up this mess. By then it had come on her out to it was everywhere. It just grew like a bad fungal disease. It was everywhere. So anyway, we had some fun, but dinner went by and I cleaned it up the next day, because she always scratches before she makes herself a little bed. Oh, and she probably thought, well, this is nice and soft and comfortable. I'll make a nice little bed, which she did. But boy, there was a nice hole like that. So, I mean, it's my fault, Martin, her fault. So now when I upholster something, I make sure I turn it upside down so the foam, because it was so soft and cozy. Anyway, I want to show you the chairs. I want to show you how much material I have left and what I might do next. And please, try and enjoy the little things in life, whether it's our orchids, your pet. Try and be very loving to those close to you, because it's hard times, and we're all struggling with it. So just be loving and kind to everybody and everything, and enjoy the little things, whether it's a bird or a flower or just maybe cleaning your cupboards. Anything, whatever you do, do with pleasure and get involved close to it, because you are in the driver's seat and you do have some control of where you go and what you do. So I'm going to quickly show you what I've been doing. Okay, this is Mom's chair, so I've done this one. I finished this whole set. It's cherry wood, and it's about 40 years old, and it has never been upholstered. So I love this fabric. And to think, I think it was $20 or $30 I paid for this massive amount of fabric. So one of these I had to add extra foam to the center, but I've done these too. I've done all 4 of them. So I'm quite happy with them. Now I've got this much fabric left. I have quite a bit of fabric left here, as you can see. It's quite a bit, and it's doubled. So yeah, so it goes like quite a bit. Now I have to do some serious measuring because I want to see if I've got enough to do the patio furniture out there. So I'll have to measure the cushions and then times it by 16 and figure out if I can actually have enough to do it. But we will see. So hope you're all fine, and thanks for joining me. And oh yeah, make sure you go to your to the community channel on the home page and look at all the orchids, leave comments, help people that need help with comments. Thank you for those that are, because some people need names of orchids, and I see you've been in there giving them the names they're asking for. So I have to post your orchids, but please go back and help those out that do have some questions. And hopefully this will start to go good, and I'll put the email underneath this video. I'll pin it in the comment section so that you can all send me an email with your pictures, or if you need me to help you in any way, I am there for you. Okay, bye for now.